4, 3, 2, 1. Carl, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's great seeing you.
Good to be here.
We met back at a Christmas party earlier this year.
Yep.
Some family friends of friends, and just started casually talking and got into a conversation and got really fascinated about smart warehousing and had never heard of it until you started talking about it.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to jump right in. You're the CEO of Smart Warehousing. I'm not exactly sure the year you started it, but
Kind of in my basement with the computer in 2001, and then with physical space a year later in 2002.
did it have anything to do with the year 2000? And
Not really.
No?
Actually, what ended up was really bad timing. I had this idea about introducing some new technology and kind of hopefully an easy button
Yeah.
for companies to work with warehouses and fulfillment companies and outsourcing in this environment. And it's not something people rather focus on, design and sales and marketing and all the things they need to do to grow their business, and filling orders and messing with inventory is usually the last thing they want to worry about.
Did you think it would turn into online ordering like it did today?
It had just kind of started. There was a little bit of the .com bubble that had burst prior to that, but obviously had some. I was thinking about that and looking at it, and wanted to design some technology I thought would sort of take the place of the old fax machines that were out there, and the internet piece was, original plan was to kind of give our customers the ability to do online warehousing, kind of like they were doing online banking. And if you go back 20 years ago, that was about the time that you could actually log into your account and see how much money you had in your checking account and savings account, and that was sort of the idea of how do we do that in the supply chain? How do we do that in warehousing and fulfillment and logistics? And a little more difficult because the units of measure are different, but that's kind of how it all started. And not very good planning from a timing perspective, because I left a nice corporate job with benefits and all that good stuff in August of 2001, with these plans on getting the software rolled out and finding some customers and about.
Can I ask who you were you working for?
I worked for a company called Kuehne+Nagel. They're a European company that bought a warehouse company in the U.S. So we were with a company called USCO Logistics, and they were purchased by Kuehne+Nagel, which is a $1 billion worldwide company, and so and good company, still around. They do great business, but kind of wanted to go down a little different path with this warehouse and fulfillment and software world.
Yeah.
And so resigned out of that business, and the timing of it was bad, because then a couple weeks later we had 9/11.
Yeah.
The whole world stopped. And so all of my plans basically stopped too. And so it was a super stressful time, because I just had left this job and I was going to start this new business, and it took an extra year. So I left in corporate America in 2001, didn't really have a physical presence doing any kind of work until a year later in 2002. But looking back, probably a blessing, because we had time to get some of the software built and tested and working. We couldn't find anybody that wanted it yet, because the whole world stopped.
Yeah.
But so it was just an interesting time.
Did you have an IT background?
K-State and a business and some information systems side. So I knew I wasn't good enough to be dangerous. And had a couple buddies that could help me work through some of the other things that we needed to bring it to life. And so. How
long were you in a corporate job before before 01?
Gosh, let's see. Really, I was working in different corporate from about 92 till about 2001.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was out there,
Less than 10 years.
yeah.
But you gotten your feet wet and
Yep.
and
I'd worked in kind of small and mom and pop type operations, and helped a company kind of bootstrap a warehouse business up off the ground and transportation. And I always call that kind of my master's degree track. It was working for a small company, because you have to wear all the hats. You have to figure out how to do all the things. And so, and then I had opportunity to go to work for USCO, which was a national company.
Okay.
And while I was there, then plugged into some additional correspondence work through Georgia Tech Logistics Institute, and got a few of those things put together. And that was good, because I had really a chance to see a lot of different sides of the supply chain logistics world. And continued to gravitate towards the warehousing and fulfillment, and at the essence of what we do is really inventory management, inventory control, and order flow and order management.
Why do you think you gravitate towards it?
It's I think it's a harder to really understand all that. It's a little more difficult to really get in it and understand it, but it's once you can kind of manage it and have a system to manage it, you can really add a lot of value. And I think that's the part that I enjoyed the most, is adding the value around the inventory side, helping our customers understand their inventory and make better decisions with inventory, things like that. So the system was really designed about how do we give them more information, how do we allow them to direct us better, because they know their businesses better than we do, and we're an extension of their businesses. And so the goal is how can we keep them as informed and almost real time and live, even though they might be halfway around the world. And we're executing whatever their wishes are, and hopefully doing it without error and without interruption, but again, they're able to monitor it and measure it and make sure that we're not getting off track, and so that's kind of been one of the guiding principles of Smart Warehousing since we started. Better systems equals better service, and so that's kind of our mission statement, and or at least the short version of it.
Well, and it's there's a lot of talk about entrepreneurship, especially with millennials, and this whole talk about going to the gig economy, where you are your own boss and you're working on multiple projects. You're not working for a big company. And Brett and I talk about that transition and what that looks like. And then we also talk about people being stuck with corporations and being stuck at a certain salary, and having the family, and then the kids, and then the house, and the mortgage, and the car payments. And it's like you're even though you might be making into the six figures, you're still living paycheck to paycheck.
Sure.
I've seen it a million times.
Right.
And so even you were in the corporate America for almost 10 years, and then being able to step away and go all in on your own thing. People always want to, maybe I'll kind of devote a couple hours to this a week, and maybe it'll grow over time. And if you just put all the energy that you've put in to a big corporation, if you can just do that for yourself and figure out your own niche, and you don't need a big staff, you just have a vision and it's clear and how you're going to make that first dollar. And if that's your focus and you go all in 40, 50, 60 hours a week on that, I wholeheartely believe anybody can be successful.
All in is more like 120 hours.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But
especially because you're thinking about it all the time. You're talking about it. It's always on the front of your brain.
Yeah. I think if they had it shouldn't have worked in the dictionary, it would say C Smart Warehousing, because it probably shouldn't have worked.
Really?
The timing was bad. We were undercapitalized. I mean, everything you could, if you look at a white paper or any kind of a, how-to guide on the start of business, we would have gotten an F on that score. And so, we kept plugging away, and we worked hard. And when you start a business, you just start a job because you're kind of just working for yourself, and you're just hoping to pay the bills and crossing your fingers that it all works. And it was an interesting time, because family, 4 kids, my wife didn't work, we had no health care. I mean, talk about being all in.
Wow. But also extremely exciting, because when you're and I don't want to bash on people who have corporate jobs.
Sure, no, they're good.
It makes the world go around. But what I found myself doing is that I was very easily foreseeing the next 2, 5, 10 years working for the same company. And initially when you move up in a company, you're excited because it's new. Yeah. And then everyone plateaus or get to a point where they stay in a point longer. Yep. And you're like, oh gosh, I know exactly where I'm going to be in 5 years. Yep. And then 7 years I'm going to be here. Yep. And if you're not finding yourself excited about that, you should go create something on your own. Sure. And that's one of our biggest driving factors, is that we have no idea where we're going to be in a year from now, but we know it's going to be even better than it is now. Right. And that's that creates the fire.
Yeah. I think that, and what we've tried to do at Smart is kind of have as we've added people, and I think we're in 300 or 400 employees, and we probably have that many temporary folks working in our warehouses and stuff as well. So and then in the holiday season it'll even be more than that as we ramp up and down. So but we try to encourage that same kind of passion for the next thing, and try to when you're working for a growing company, it is Christmas every day. There is always something else that if you have the sinew and you have the passion for doing something else and you want to apply yourself, and if you can see what needs to be done versus have to be told what needs to be done, you'll go along. You'll go, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're working for a company, you'll go anywhere you want to in that business.
How did that exit process look like from, was it USCO?
USCO or USCO, yeah.
USCO. Yeah. What was that process of, okay, I'm going to start Smart Warehousing. At what point did you make the decision and then find your, were you working on your own? Did you have to go get money for Smart Warehousing? How did that, those first 3 months look like?
Yeah, so I started out thinking if I could get that software built enough to where I could go show it off, that I could sell the software, I could kind of license the software and then support it. So almost consultative type business where it didn't have to hire a bunch of employees. I could go around and explain how it worked, get it installed and support it. And as I did that, what I started finding was that they liked it. They liked the software. They thought it was going to make it easier for them. They thought that was the easy button they were looking for. But they didn't really want to run the warehouse. So it was like, well, okay, now I need to have space. I can't just work out of my house or out of a little office or an executive suites or something. Now I need a warehouse. I need a forklift. So gathered up a little capital, and we went into our first building, and then and that's how we started growing, just one little building at a time, and 10,000 square feet, and then 25,000 square feet, and then 50,000 square feet, and add another customer, and add another customer, and add another customer. And
so essentially, you have warehouses. So people that are selling products, could be any company in the world. Yeah. They say, all right, instead of having our own warehouse, we're going to store it in Carl's. And then when an order comes in, we phone up Carl or goes to the system, and they ship the product out to our client or out to our customer.
Yep. At the end of the day, you have a choice. You can do that yourself, or you can outsource it. And traditionally, what was happening pre kind of the internet and pre some of the stuff we were bringing to the market was that the concept of outsourcing warehousing made sense. You were able to get your inventory closer to maybe where your customers were, or you could spread it out around the U.S. But the systems hadn't caught up. So it was hard from an inventory, but everything was, there had all this kind of time where inventory was invisible, or you weren't sure what you had where, and
because it probably wasn't integrating with their POS systems.
All that integration. I mean, if you think about 20 years ago, all that stuff was just barely.
Was online.
Yeah, Nothing. I mean, we accidentally were in the cloud before anyone knew what to call it. And so the server was under my desk, Now we're doing everything in, Azure. So, I mean, it's changed so much, but, you really had two choices from a business perspective. You're going to sell something to somebody, you're going to have to keep some inventory, right? Or you make everything, like a restaurant. You make it but you still have raw goods.
Mm-hmm.
You still need, the steak before you cook it and serve it. Well, you're selling product. You need some inventory on the shelf to sell. And then it's really about what channel do you sell through?
Mm-hmm.
Are you shipping that into big retailers? Are you shipping that direct to consumer?
Mm-hmm.
Are you giving that into a wholesale distributor type model?
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the things that companies were worrying about and trying to figure out. And then what I was hoping is we could give them an easy button to work with us. We could handle the fulfillment, the inventory management, the order fulfillment side, and go gracefully into those different channels. And so I still think we're one of the only companies out there that offers a company the ability to leverage a single inventory across multiple channels. And so we'll ship one item of something, grab it out of inventory, pack it into a box and ship it to your house, or we'll send a whole truckload to Walmart for you. And we can do all those different channels, and that creates a lot of leverage. And a lot of times you have to put inventory in 4 places. I have to do my direct consumer business here. I have to do my wholesale business here. I have to do my retail business here. So now you have 4 inventories that you're dealing with and managing. And so there's just very few companies that can manage. They don't have the systems to manage multiple channels, single inventories. And so I don't know that we were smart enough to think about all the e-commerce and the Amazon effect that's happened over. So, and it just happens that we have warehouses scattered out that kind of allow our clients now to put inventory in enough places so that they can become a prime, so they can get on the front page. So they can play in the same prime, fulfillment, and allow and work with the Amazons and Hay Needles and Zulililies and Wayfairs and all the different guys that are out there. All those electronic platforms now that want to be able to get that product to the clients in 1 or 2 days. They can do that with Smart. Before, otherwise you have to go rent, lease, buy, 8 warehouses to do that.
So someone can put a metal cup that they're selling on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They buy it, and it's being shipped out of the Smart Warehousing warehouse.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it gets to the customer, ultimate customer, and maybe they don't even know it wasn't shipped by Amazon. So the customers usually have a choice. They can let Amazon fulfill it, and they just feed it into the Amazon, world.
Which makes it a prime product.
Or they can do their own fulfillment through, and still maintain the prime.
Oh, yeah. Because the delivery date.
Because they can still maintain the delivery
standard a day or two
that Amazon's looking for, and they're constantly tweaking that and working on. So we work with some clients that we have inventory in almost all of our locations because that speeds it up for delivery, and our fulfillment windows now are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 hour. You used to have 6 days to get an order ready. Now you're doing it in 60 minutes. I mean, it's just crazy how that compression of that cycle time has changed. And technology has allowed for that to happen. And so I say it is truly in supply chain, at least on the warehouse side, it is Christmas every day. It is Christmas every day.
What did you guys build the original?
Something new every day.
Yeah. What did you guys build the original software language in?
So we originally started in Perl. It was database Perl, and then we had 2 or 3 other kind of things that we smashed together, so there's some. I'm not going to have all the
you're fine. The technical terms
anymore, but they're using the tech stack that they're using now is.
You said Node, right?
Yeah, we're doing Node, JS. We still have Perl stuff. We still have Post for Postgre, I think is maybe what
Postgres.
Postgres. That's it.
Yeah.
So there's it really is kind of an eclectic, because we're doing some of the stuff, the graphics on the screens, then the stuff that's managing the database, and then how it APIs and pulls back and forth from the different systems that we have. A lot more complicated than it was when I first started. I was just trying to show somebody their inventory on the screen. Log in and push this button, and it was, which
it's changed a lot.
Yeah, so I'm glad we have a bunch of guys that are way smarter than I am now. But now I worry about more design and kind of the flow of not just the product but the information, and then constantly challenging our team. Look for, how do we do this? How do we solve this problem? And how do we deal with handing orders off to the Uber drivers now.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing too long ago.
So out of this, you've all been able to create a proprietary software that you could maybe potentially show to other third-party logistics companies,
right?
And that's Bubbles, right?
Right. Well, so the software provides a lot of visibility and a lot of information. And what we started seeing happening was that companies that had hundreds of orders or maybe thousands of orders that they're needing some information on, the dashboard side of it becomes, you spend almost as much time trying to find what you're looking for. The data's there, but just getting to it, or verifying something. And so we went down the whole exception and reporting and just looking for exceptions. And again, that's still complicated. And since there's no time anymore to make decisions, you almost have to bring that supply chain to life. And so with that concept in mind, a couple years ago we started working on a program where I could create a dashboard that took all this information about their orders and bring it into a screen, and on a phone, a smartphone, or on a browser, where you could tap and swipe and zoom into the data you needed. And so we introduced a concept that we actually got trademarked, which is was shapes for transportation modes and colors and sizes of bubbles. That's why we call it Bubbles. And so there's different shapes, and they mean different things. And so quickly and easily your eyeballs can focus on exactly what's going on. And if there's an exception or a challenge or a problem or an issue with an order or with an inbound, very quickly you can look and see on your screen if you have to worry about something, or if you need to pay attention to something. So it's almost like a warning light on your car that starts flashing at you and says, hey, you might need to check your oil.
Yeah.
This is the same kind of a concept, but it's with your supply chain. Hey, you might want to check on this order. Hey, you might want to check on this. And then it allows our customers to have some immediate feedback with our customer service account management folks in the warehouses. So they can just tap on it, creates some visibility. Email has gotten ridiculous, in my opinion. There's just so many. I don't know how most people get through their day. There's hundreds of emails coming, and you're like, spend most of your day deleting emails. And so I said, well, maybe there's an easier way to do that. And so that was all they have to do is tap on it. It creates a flashing, sends a message. They can respond, and it just changes colors so they know that they've dealt with that problem. And what's nice about it is that it's like a bat signal. Everyone can see it. It doesn't get, if somebody's at lunch, the email doesn't get stale. If somebody's gone that day, it doesn't go into a dark hole and nobody sees it till the next Monday or something. It's right there in front of anybody, and they can deal with it. And I can look at it from anywhere in the world. The customer can look at it from anywhere in the world. Our management can look at it from anywhere.
It sounds like a real-time ticketing system as well.
It's a real-time.
Because we have a client where they have tickets that are in the millions.
Yeah.
And they're a 3-year backlog from tickets that have been created.
Yeah.
And yeah,
so it's a if you just on the phone you just hit enter, and that brings up all the warehouses, and it's all real time and what's going on. And then if you tap on the down at the bottom, you can tap on it and it opens up the bubble screen, and then you can just zoom into it and it shows you all the stuff that's going on. So it's an interesting. We're still learning how it's going to work and how we're going to leverage it and how we're going to use it. But we literally have had clients say that from a servicing or from a communication piece, working with the warehouses, that their people are going to be able to manage so much more, or they're not going to need as many people to do it, because it's just literally tap and swipe, and any problem they need to deal with, they can ask about. So we think there's an avenue, and we're talking to several Fortune 500 companies right now about, is this concept licensable? Yeah. And can we take it to any system, plug it in on, because it sits on top of whatever ERP order management system that they might be using. Yeah. And it's just a way for it's a real-time dashboard of what's going on. And
it sounds almost blockchain-ish, because I don't know that deep on blockchain, but with blockchain you can follow the entire life cycle of a product from start to finish, and whose hands touched something. And there's a lot of that in there. So
we haven't tied it together with all the raw goods to processing to finished goods to distribution to shelf to consumer. We haven't tied it into all those things, but certainly in the part that we're dealing with, we can. It does have a similar flair to it, because we're just blockchain. You're taking them. You're opening up all that trust, so everyone can see everything, kind of what's going on. I mean, there's not a clearinghouse for every step of the way, and this way, like say, we have a question about an order. If a customer does, and I look at everything that's going on in the U.S. we have big screen TVs up in our office, so these bubbles and anything that starts flashing, there might be 20,000 orders up there. We're filling, thousands and thousands of lines that day, and the one little blue flash or the one little red flash or the one little orange flash, we all know what that means. Yeah. And so it's really quick and easy. I don't have to spend time going through, but the whole company can see it. And so, and anybody who's supposed to be paying attention to that or worried about that,
it's total transparency.
It's
which is hard to find.
It's super hard to find, and hard to trust an organization that they're not trying to
hide something.
Yeah. And so we're trying to. So this technology, the way this should work is it should allow our clients to be almost in ultimate control. That's why we call it bringing the supply chain to life. I mean, we're trying to kind of wake up Frankenstein, because there's a lot of supply chain dark spots, and it's invisible. What's really happening, we don't really know. Yeah. And it's going to be pretty hard not to know if we're meeting our service levels or taking care of the keeping the promises that we're trying to keep. And and if something isn't working the way it's supposed to, it's super easy to find out why. Yeah. With a couple taps on your phone, done. Yeah. You don't hardly have to. You just almost instantly know if there's a problem.
Well, and I think every Amazon consumer has experienced a broken item or a broken package or something wrong, and it's clear that didn't come from one of the Amazon warehouses. Well, at least I assume. But it's probably coming from some other warehouse, and the product is going down. And so if I'm giving you all of my product, and when the customer orders and then goes through your warehouse, having that trust of being able to track each product and seeing whose hands are touching it, I mean, that's really valuable.
Well, we're getting great feedback right now. We think it's going to help us manage our facilities. We think it's going to help us improve our customer, satisfaction. I'm looking at some responses back from some of our top customers that we had just this week, and little things like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, and I mean they're excited about it. and we're just getting it going. I mean, it's just we think it's got a whole bunch of legs on how many different ways we're gonna end up figuring out how it's gonna help us. So
where do you see it in 3-5 years?
Well, hard to say today. For our own business, we think it's going to be super valuable from a customer service and satisfaction, and really allow us to differentiate our. I think most of the customers that work with us know that we're focused on making sure our service levels are met, making sure the inventories are accurate, making sure our communication is perfect, and when they see us bringing these kinds of tools out for them, versus just unloading trucks and reloading trucks.
Yeah.
The kind of the old-fashioned what people think in their heads, and really smashing technology together with the kind of this old supply chain warehouse, world, helps us, I think, differentiate our business and creates an ability for us to be very competitive. And most of our competition is pretty good at getting the physical stuff figured out.
Yeah.
But marrying up the technology, the virtual stuff has to be exactly aligned with the physical.
Yeah.
And if you can't manipulate the system to do that and customize that, super hard to customize just one side of that equation. So both of those have to match before you really have an efficient flow of from a supply chain standpoint. So we think from our perspective, that's going to allow us to grow our business.
Yep.
Last year we were a little over 35% growth.
Wow.
And we're on track to grow some more this year, and almost we're having a great success right now, just keeping up with the business and growing the business.
Do you think the systems and the IT is a big contributor to that 35% growth? Because it's become super efficient.
Yeah.
How much has automation affected you guys' business?
We have some automation, but not as, when you think about a big, post office, a sort, their, envelopes and stuff are going down conveyors and automatic sorters, and if you have a business that has lots and lots and lots of volume of one kind of thing, then you can automate you can use automation to do that, and very effectively take a lot of cost out. There's a big front end cost to get it. The challenge that companies like ours have is we had to come up with a way to be competitive, but a lot of times our contracts aren't long enough to load a lot of front end investment into those agreements. So if you're a grocery store, or you're Kohl's, or you're some big retailer, you might go invest $25 million in some automated system, knowing that over the next 10 years you're going to get a payback on that. Well, there are very few companies that'll contract with me for 10 years.
Yeah, it's a big contract.
So it gets a little trickier then to go and make all those big investments. So we make them as we can share. We share in those things. So we focus a lot more on how to leverage technology, not so much automation. Now we do have automation, so we have the conveyors and the scanners and the sorters, and it's telling us, we have all kinds of really cool things to make us efficient. But we try to apply that more to the clients that have those volumes versus just across the board. Because with 1,000 different customers, I think we're close to 1,000 different customers today. They all have something different. We have sporting goods stuff, we have outdoor stuff, we have vitamins and supplements and food and dog food and pet treats and medical products.
Everything.
We
think of. Is there anything you won't?
We have frozen food. If you order a barbecue, we ship it to your house.
Right.
So things
Jack
like
Stack?
so Jack Stack.
Yeah. They actually have the number one online barbecue food ordering in the entire country.
You
know that?
Yeah, you have that down to a science.
Yeah, they do.
It's
these guys.
Wow. There you go. You have it down to a science.
So
we're trying to help them and do a great job. And we've learned a ton from those guys too.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of what I think becomes Christmas every day for us. Our clients it's like having 1,000 consultants working for me. Because every one of them, is seeing, things out there in the marketplace where, hey, this might work. And hey, because they're all running their businesses. They're all looking for the next best thing. And so, all you have to do is listen. And we literally, every client is almost a consultant. And those guys have been super. I mean, they're just the
feedback you're getting.
They're first class people and have done a great job. And we can continue to learn and get better about things, and they bring ideas to us, and but there's a sharing, this sort of, if we may be like the Uber warehousing, we're just all sharing the same stuff and getting better all the time, and again, the technology platform, we can say, oh, that's a good idea, maybe we should do that, and then we figure out how to build that and make that work, and if it does, then sometimes we can leverage that over other similar kinds of customers.
How was it expanding with personnel? We have 2 clients that we're working with. They've been stuck at this 15-person mark.
Okay.
Go up and down 13, go up to 17, back down to 15.
Yep.
You're at 300-400 folks now. I mean, what was that process of growing and doing it confidently?
Well, let's see. That's it kind of sneaks up on you. I mean, so I think the leadership has to be careful not to micromanage too much or allow that to work. You have to trust people, which it's hard for me to do. Yeah. As the founder, I'm always monkeying in probably places and things I shouldn't, but you do have to trust people, and you have to make sure that you share the vision and they understand the goals, and I think once you get some confidence that those people that you bring in have those similar, everybody's pulling the rope the same direction, that it gets easier for kind of divide and conquer. Hey, you go do that, I'll go do this, and so I think it goes back to that kind of a culture and focus, and in a organization that just starts, everyone has to be able to wear all the hats almost all the time, and then at some point in time during a company's growth, that kind of changes, and then it becomes more of a they have to be a little more focused on certain things and not necessarily on all things. Yeah, and I think knowing when that happens, and so I think a good leader knows when to pull the guy off the mound and when to leave him out there. Yeah, and I don't know how else to, and I think you just feel that more than maybe there's nothing written somewhere. And
when you first started in 01, was it just you?
Just me. Yeah.
Who was your first hire? Who were your first 2 hires?
I had a high school kid that worked for me 3 hours a day for a while, helped me in the warehouse, and then finally the next hire was somebody in the office to help me key in orders. I was still, they were.
I mean, were you like packing boxes and sending them out?
Yeah, I did everything.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I even had a little sign that I turned over on the door that said I went to lunch. I'll be back in, whenever, hopefully not too long.
We have a client who is down in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Yeah, and he's got about 9,000 square feet. Okay. And he does microbrewing parts.
Oh, sure.
It's like hoses and filters and tanks. If you want to create a little microbrewery in your house, and you order something on Amazon, it's coming from China or overseas.
Wherever.
Goes to his warehouse. He assembles it, repackages it, and then sends it back out. And they're kicking butt. And they got 10 people there, and it's growing, and sounds somewhat similar.
So, I mean, we have
in the beginning stages anyway.
Well, we have, there's 1,000 of those guys that, we're helping, and we work with all size companies. We work with, so, let's say that guy wants to keep some inventory, and if all his orders are selling in California or Texas or the East Coast, and he's spending a whole bunch of money shipping from Arkansas all the way to New York every day, might make sense to have a little inventory in our warehouse there. and then his shipping costs go down, and our fees that we charge almost go away because he's saving all that money.
Wow.
And it makes it easy to integrate systems, and the inventory's there, and we can do everything that now he may be doing things that we don't know how to do. Obviously there might be some things, but if it's putting it in a box and kitting it and putting it all together and dropping it in the supply chain, having that inventory close so customers don't have to wait 3 days, they get it tomorrow and cheaper.
I've seen some warehouses where there's these little robots. They look like little Roombas.
Yeah.
And they have like columns on top of them, and they're driving around.
Amazon has those. And
what are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I think there's some.
And that's total automation, right?
Well, okay. So there's we don't have any. There are applications that where you could justify that, and so we're not anti-automation at all. We just have to figure out how to make it work financially. And so we try to do the math and look at the engineering. It says how many orders can they fill, and how many what's the cost, what's the investment, what's the payback, and then apply that to what we're doing. And the challenge that we run into with a lot of the robot or the those kind of little bots that are running around today is it has to be little bitty stuff. So it makes it a little harder.
Like cell phone parts and
it's
electronics.
Just the actual product has to be a certain dimension, size, weight, and so as long as you stay in those kind of worlds, you can actually have. I think there's some a good argument that it makes sense to make some of those investments. In our world, we have such a diverse inventory mix that it gets really tricky.
It's hard to put a rack of lambs on one of those.
Yeah, it's hard to run one of those and put dry ice and ship your barbecue. So and not that it can't in the future. Somebody will probably figure it out.
Yeah.
But we have little bitty items in the warehouse that the size of a guitar pick, and then we have hot water heaters. So it's gonna. Wow. Those are all, and so the technology can support it. But it's really tricky for automation to support that.
This thing's got to be expensive too.
And it's expensive. Anytime we see something new, we try to take a look at it and think about it and look at the costs. And we have some friends at Burns and McDonald, and so we try to talk to smart people that can help us figure out different things, and then anybody in the industry, and it's Christmas every day. But it doesn't mean it's always going to work.
Yeah.
And you do kiss a lot of frogs when you're trying to figure out this stuff.
Yep.
But you got to keep trying.
Yeah. So I went to a recent conference. It was over winter time, and there was an economist talking about how Kansas City is going to be the next hub for industrial warehousing, because we have our freight is so large with all the trains, because I think we're second largest to Chicago with our train yard, and there's so much space for warehousing, just like the million square foot Amazon and Gardner, and how it's going to and all the online food ordering, or excuse me, just like the online shopping
in general,
not food ordering, and how Kansas City is going to be like the next big hub for all, and that's going to be our biggest industry.
I had a logistics professor in Atlanta at Georgia Tech say, "There's a reason the heart's in the middle of the body."
The heartland.
Yeah. So
I love it.
So
it's flat.
We've got space, great people, great. We have great workers all over the country, but obviously we started here, so there's some folks that just do such a great job, and there's some common sense, and they know how to get things done. They know how to see what needs to be done, and so if you can introduce a little technology and a little work ethic, and that goes a long ways to getting the job done and satisfying customers, and there's been a lot of strides made in supply chain, and everything going online, and the amount of people are trying to order stuff online today, and it's sort of this, click and now world.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that's going away. It's gone on long enough that I don't think half the people don't even know a different way. I think, and so it'll be incumbent upon companies like SmartWarehousing and others in the industry to come up with solutions to deal with that, and we're working on the next version of what as the malls and some of those things disappear, what's
going to fill those up?
What takes the place of that? So we've already gone down the path to figure out some ideas on what we think are going to be some of the new things, and maybe I'll come back when we're ready to talk about that. But, and give you guys the scoop on. But there's a whole new kind of last mile, suburban, urban type concept of really community of almost everything, supply chain that's because the way people buy stuff is so different today than it used to run to the store and go grab it or whatever, and that's just not happening that way now. And so
you want to know a scary fact?
Yeah.
I've been in an apartment for 2 years and I've gone to the grocery store twice.
Yeah. How about that?
Too much Jack Stack.
It's easier. It fits my lifestyle. I eat lunch every day.
Totally.
That probably will change, but that's that's our generation.
From what? What do you use?
What do I use when
you buy groceries?
Stuff.
I'll actually go physically to the grocery store, but I've seen Hy-Vee in here delivering groceries.
Yeah, they'll all do it, or you can get it through one of the Grub Hubs or whatever they are. They'll bring food, and I just think there's going to be that trend is not going to go away.
Do you think that you'll have any interest in doing that kind of delivery?
I don't know that we necessarily. I think it's going to be really hard for companies to. I think it'll be a lot of independent. I think it's almost going to be more Uber type.
Yeah.
Lyft and Uber and
the gig economy.
Yeah, they're gonna. Hey, I've got 10 minutes. I'll go make this delivery to somebody and make $10 or whatever it is. But it's. I think where we'll participate is going to be right where that inventory gets handed off to those local drivers, those local deliveries, and maybe even whether that's the front door or the back door. But I think we're going to be participating in that, and we, with the software that we allow, that we serve to the clients, it's branded, it looks like theirs. We smart in the box is what we call it. You turn on you log in and you know how to manage your inventory. We can help you with your integrations between your ERP system or your shopping cart to the e-commerce platforms out there. We have a easy button for that. We're really good at connecting all the plumbing for our customers.
Like that.
Yeah, we can connect all the plumbing. Doesn't matter what it is, where it is, whether it's going to retail, whether it's going to e-commerce, whether it's going to wholesale. So over the last 17, 18 years, we've gotten really good at how to do that. And so onboarding new customers, I mean, it's quick, it's inexpensive, and then we just need to know where you want your stuff directed, and then once we get the orders, it can deliver and look like it. We try to be invisible. If nobody knows we're there, that's a good day.
What would you say, not business related, has maybe more personal related, has let you grow this business and become successful?
A very patient wife.
Yeah. Yeah, Nancy's.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, Nancy's a great woman.
Yeah. So she we have, and I I don't know where we got this, but I think I remember where this came from, like pink jobs and blue jobs at our house, and the blue jobs are mine and the pink jobs are hers, and and so early on in our marriage we kind of figured out what those things were, and then go a joint decision. Hey, Carl, go try. I don't think she wanted to listen to me complain if I hadn't tried, and so so she kind of was a big part of that. Give it a shot, see what happens. What do you got to lose? Yeah. I'm like, well, we won't be able to feed our 4 kids. That's kind of something to lose.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they were so young it didn't matter. They didn't know we were poor.
But it's so important to have that backbone and have someone supporting you, because you feel super vulnerable. Yeah. I'm sure in those first couple of years.
We just probably weren't smart enough to know we shouldn't.
Yeah. You got to be smart, but you also have to have a lot of wild cowboy in you.
So you do. It's a balance.
Yeah, it is.
Knowing, and it's still today. I mean, I think every entrepreneur in America is, a little bit insecure on whether or not something's working the way it's supposed to.
Oh yeah.
Because you're just always wondering, okay, what's tomorrow bringing?
Yep.
Because it's something in you, I think.
Yeah.
This is how it works.
Well, this has been awesome. So. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I guess I want to know if you had like a light bulb moment before you started Smart Warehousing at your corporate job, your first job.
I don't know if it was a light bulb moment, but again, I was working for this company, running this warehouse. I was a general manager for them, and the customers. I was listening to the customer, and the customers were saying, this takes too long. This is not easy. This is confusing. Or the practice that we, the processes and practices and systems that we had in place at the time. It's too expensive. By the time you guys get done doing something, I don't need it anymore. Right. All those things. And so I had enough IT savvy from school, and I was probably young enough to know a little bit about it, and so I got to thinking maybe there's a easy button. Maybe there's something I can do that'll make this a little easier, and so that's what got me thinking about it. So I think it was a combination of
feedback,
just getting a lot of customers. They're frustrated, so I like helping people. I think we just hate to see people not happy with something, and so I think that's just in my DNA to be helpful. And so when somebody's not happy about a situation, I'll try to make it better. And so probably not as much of a light bulb as now. Bubbles was kind of a light bulb.
Okay.
In the back of an airplane, I was watching everybody playing on their phones, tapping stuff and swiping stuff and zooming. And I was like, I wonder if we could run a warehouse doing that same. That's how that started.
What are your thoughts on hiring friends and family?
It's I think it's fine. We have both in our business. It's easier now that it's bigger. Yeah. So
you're not with each other every day.
Right. So I think as long as there's some good lanes and everyone kind of knows their roles, and if you're all kind of like-minded and you're pulling the rope the same way, and there is an amount of trust that comes with people that and family that you don't have to worry about them not doing something.
Right.
But I would say it tends to be a little easier in bigger companies than smaller ones.
Yeah.
So, because it's, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, this has been excellent. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story and giving us insight.
I don't know
I feel like we just scratched
this.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
That was great.
There's a lot of stuff going on in this industry for sure, and technology is such an important part of it.
Thank you, Carl.
Happy to come through.
Is there anything else you want to wrap up with or anything?
This is great. You've
awesome.
Got a neat business, and hope you guys do well, and maybe we can use you once in a while.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That was great.
Thank you.